The first thing she noticed was the quiet. Not the kind you expect at 3 a.m. after a party, not sleepy silence. No, it was a different kind. The air had that eerie stillness, like something had left the room permanently and the walls knew it. She came in through the side door, heels in hand, jacket half off, mumbling to herself about how Brielle always overpours. Her laugh was still caught in her throat when she saw the TV screen, dark. The lamp I usually turned off before bed was still glowing in the corner. My slippers were gone from beside the couch. The air smelled untouched. Then her eyes caught it, the suitcase. It wasn't hers, and it wasn't in the closet. One suitcase was missing, mine, and there, right on the TV stand, exactly where she usually left her coffee cup in the mornings, was a folded piece of paper. Plain, no envelope, no name. But she knew. I left it there for her. On purpose. She froze. I know this because I watched the camera feed from my car. Yeah, that's right. I watched her come home. I watched her smile fade. I watched her pick up the note. The same note I wrote while she was out, laughing too loudly with Emmett, who somehow managed to be at every girl's night for the last 2 months. The same Emmett she swore I was crazy to worry about. The one she said was dating someone else. Yeah, that one. I watched her lips move as she read my words. She read them 3 times, like she couldn't believe someone like me, a guy she used to ignore mid-sentence, could find the spine to walk away without even slamming a door. And no, I didn't yell. I didn't flip the table or scream or call her a name. I just left the note. I left my ring on top of it, too, because I knew she'd look for it. And once I saw her sit down on the couch, holding the note in both hands like it was shaking, I turned off the feed. I didn't need to see her reaction after that, because the truth was already out, and I was already gone. I didn't expect her to call. Not that fast. I thought she'd sit in it longer, try to rationalize it, maybe pretend it wasn't real. But nope. First call came 7 minutes after she opened the note. Then another. And another. 18 in total, stacked like little bombs on my lock screen, lighting up my burner phone from the inside of my glove compartment. I didn't answer. I just stared at the screen while sitting in the parking lot of an all-night diner 2 towns over, listening to the rain thud against my windshield like it was cheering for me. I almost laughed. Almost. But then I remembered the photo. Because that's what really did it. Not the missed dinners. Not the weird perfume that started clinging to her clothes when she came home, late from paperwork. Not even the way she flinched when I touched her shoulder one night, like I wasn't allowed anymore. No, it was that single damn photo. I wasn't even trying to find it. I was updating her laptop, like I'd done a dozen times before. She always called me her tech guy, which I guess was her way of making me feel useful. She handed it over before the party that night, said it was running slow. I told her I'd run a cleanup while she was out. She smiled like she meant it. But when I went to transfer a backup of her files, purely out of habit, because I'm not some snoop, I opened a folder that shouldn't have existed. It was called Work Event Private. It wasn't private. And it definitely wasn't work. First picture? Her and Emmett in the back of a limo, his hand on her leg. Her laughing like a stranger. Second picture? A mirror selfie in a hotel room. Her dress half unzipped, champagne bottle on the nightstand, and the kind of smile she stopped giving me 2 years ago. The third one. I didn't even open it. I just sat there, jaw locked, heart doing that slow, tight clench where you swear it's skipping beats. I stared at the file name. We deserved this. JPG. No date. No context. Just that. So I closed the laptop, packed my bag, left the photos on a flash drive in her drawer, where she'd eventually find it, and wrote the note. Simple. Quiet. Devastating in its own way. Now, sitting there in the car, the phone buzzing like a dying animal, I wondered if she had found the drive yet. If she was still calling me under the illusion that I didn't know. Maybe she thought the note was about something else. Burnout. Maybe. Or maybe she'd finally figured out that I wasn't blind. That I'd just been holding out hope way longer than any sane person should. Then she texted. Just one line. Please come home so I can explain. Explain what exactly? That my suspicions were right. That every time she turned over in bed and muttered another man's name under her breath, it wasn't just a dream? That I hadn't been crazy when I asked why her friend called her at midnight while she was in the shower? I didn't reply. Instead, I started the engine and drove deeper into nowhere. I didn't have a destination yet. I didn't even know where I'd sleep next. But I knew one thing for sure. The second she read the final line of that note, the illusion she'd been living in shattered. Because the note didn't just say I was leaving. It ended with, "Ask Emmett if his wife enjoyed the pictures too." And that was only the beginning. I didn't sleep. Not because I couldn't. I was exhausted. But because my head wouldn't stop buzzing with the sound of her voice in my imagination. The fake softness she used when she knew she was caught. That same trembling tone she used when I found the receipt for the hotel room 3 weeks ago, and she gaslit me into thinking it was for a nurse conference. That voice haunted me more than the images. Because I used to believe it. I wanted to believe it. At 6:03 a.m., she called again. But this time, I didn't send it to voicemail. I let it ring. I stared at it long enough to watch the screen go black. And then, instead of throwing the phone into the nearest dumpster like I'd fantasized about all night, I made one call. Just one. To a number I never thought I'd use. Her name was Jill. Emmett's wife. Yeah, he had a wife too. See, that's the part Lacey never thought I'd figure out. She was so caught up in her little fantasy that she forgot I still knew how to dig when I needed to. And I dug hard. Reverse image searches. Facebook friends. LinkedIn. It was all there. Wedding photos, anniversary posts, and one very active PDA account. Jill, it turned out, was not only real, she was reachable. I didn't send her the photos directly. I'm not a monster. I sent a message. One sentence. "You might want to ask your husband why he's in a hotel room with mine." Her reply came 23 minutes later. "Call me." I did. And the voice on the other end wasn't what I expected. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't crying. She sounded calm, like glass right before it cracks. "Curtis, right?" she said. I told her yes. She already knew my name. "I've known something was off for months," she whispered. But I didn't have proof. I didn't say anything. I just breathed. Let her talk. She asked if I still had the photos. I said yes. She asked if I'd be willing to forward them. I paused, then asked her why. And what she told me next flipped everything. "I don't need them for me," she said. "I need them for court." Turns out Emmett had a past. A messy one. Prior infidelity, restraining orders, a sealed incident involving a co-worker at another hospital. Things Lacey probably didn't even know about. Or worse, she did and didn't care. Jill had already been preparing to leave. But now she had what she needed to make sure he never got custody of their daughter. And here's where it gets twisted. Just as I agreed to send the files, my phone buzzed with another call. Lacey. Again. But I didn't even have time to reject it. Jill said, "Answer it. Put it on speaker." I hesitated. But I did it. "Curtis." Lacey's voice was shaking. "Where are you? Please. I know you saw something, but this isn't what you think." And before I could even respond, Jill cut in. "Hi, Lacey." The line went dead silent. Not a breath. Not a sound. Just dead, stunned silence. Then a click. She hung up. Not a word. Not a scream. Not a lie. Because she knew that her secret wasn't just broken open. It was broadcasted. And now, someone else was holding the microphone. It was just after noon when I heard the knock. Not a bang. Not pounding. Just this soft, pathetic little knock like the person on the other side was too ashamed to be there in the first place. I was sitting on the motel bed, still in the same hoodie from the night before, legs numb from not moving, but I knew that knock. I knew it like I knew the sound of her keys or the way she said, "Babe," when she was lying. It was Lacey. She had found me. I hadn't told her where I was. I hadn't told anyone. I paid cash for the room, left my phone off, even parked the car 2 lots over to keep it out of sight. But she still found me. Maybe she tracked my last location. Maybe she begged the front desk. Maybe she cried. Who knows? That was always her weapon, not honesty. Emotion. She knocked again. "Curtis, are you in there?" Her voice was smaller than usual. No attitude. No edge. Just desperate. I didn't answer. I just stared at the chipped wallpaper and listened. I didn't know Jill would call you. I didn't mean for any of that to happen, okay?" She stammered through the door. "You weren't supposed to see those pictures. It wasn't real, Curtis. Not like you think." That line. It wasn't real. God, I almost laughed. As if that made it better. Like cheating was just a fever dream she accidentally slipped into and hoped I'd forget when she woke up next to me. "I didn't sleep with him, Curtis." A pause. We were talking. Flirting. I was drunk. I made a mistake. Another pause. This one longer. Then, "I need you to come out. Please. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. You just disappeared." And now Jill is threatening Emmett with court, and he's losing it, and I can't even go home because your suitcase is gone, and I don't even know what that note meant. She broke, full sobbing now. But I stayed quiet, because I wasn't just punishing her. I was finally realizing what silence really felt like, what it could do. It didn't yell. It didn't throw accusations. It just existed. And it forced her to sit in every ounce of shame she used to toss behind. It's not a big deal. Outside the door, her voice cracked, then faded. Then came the real kicker. I didn't want him, Curtis, she whispered through her tears. I just wanted to feel something again. I didn't think you'd ever leave. You're not the leaving type. And she was right. I wasn't. Until I was. A minute later, I heard her footsteps walk away. Slow. Shaky. Like she couldn't believe I hadn't come running. Maybe she thought I was bluffing. That I'd yell, cry, take her back like I always did when she crossed a line and blamed the wine or her anxiety or me. But I stayed seated. And when she finally drove off, I pulled out the second note I had written. The one I hadn't left yet. And I mailed it to her parents' house. Because if she thought the suitcase and the silence were the end, she was about to find out what a man sounds like when he finally means goodbye. The first phone call came the next morning, and it wasn't from her. It was her mother. That alone should tell you how fast things were unraveling. Because ever since our wedding, Lacey's mom barely tolerated me. I wasn't successful enough. I wasn't assertive enough. She once told me I was too nice, like that was some character flaw. But now she was calling me before she even spoke to her own daughter. Her voice was sharp and clipped. Curtis, I just received a letter from you. What's going on? I didn't plan on explaining myself, but I also didn't care anymore about keeping Lacey's secrets. Not after everything she buried me under. I kept my voice calm. Everything in that letter is true. She was quiet for a second. Then, softly, she said, I believe you. And that hit harder than I thought it would. She didn't ask questions. Didn't push back. She just said Lacey was staying in her childhood room, barely speaking, barely eating, crying every night since she came back from whatever disaster she created. Her dad, apparently, wasn't even speaking to her. That man used to clap me on the back at BBQs like I was one of his own. Now he just shook his head whenever her name came up. All of it, from a single envelope. I hadn't written anything cruel. I didn't need to. The truth was ugly enough on its own. I laid it all out in simple detail. The pictures, the timeline, the lies. I included one printed image, not even the worst one. Just enough to show this wasn't paranoia or revenge. It was real. It happened. And it didn't just hurt me. It humiliated our families, too. She was too careless to even cover her tracks. Her mom asked if we were going to try to work through it. I told her no. There was a pause. And then, with a shaky voice I never thought I'd hear from that woman, she whispered, I think that's for the best. I ended the call politely, respectfully. I even thanked her. Then I hung up and stared at the ceiling for a long time, wondering how many versions of Lacey existed out there, and how many people she fooled with each one. That day, I got 4 more calls. 1 from her sister, 2 from mutual friends, and 1 from a block number that didn't speak when I picked up. I assumed it was her. The silence on the other end was almost familiar, like she didn't know how to talk to me now that she'd been seen. The weirdest part? I didn't feel angry anymore. I just felt done, like some rope had finally snapped and I didn't have to hold it together anymore. Her tears weren't my responsibility. Her shame, her panic, her destroyed little fantasy world, all hers now. For once, I didn't have to patch it up. I went out that night, just to sit somewhere that wasn't a motel bed. Got myself a burger. A cheap one, nothing fancy. But I actually tasted it. I wasn't checking my phone, waiting for an apology, waiting for her to beg. I wasn't anyone's emotional punching bag. And while I chewed that last bite, I realized something that hit harder than anything she ever said to me. I wasn't the broken one. I was just the one who stayed too long in someone else's mess. I didn't plan to meet anyone. That's not what this was. I wasn't trying to move on or play some rebound game to get back at her. I wasn't even sure I knew how to connect with another human being after what Lacey put me through. But sometimes life drops something quiet in your lap, and you don't even realize it's healing you until it's already happening. Her name was Morgan. She worked the night desk at the motel, wore oversized sweaters, had chipped black nail polish, and offered me a discount on vending machine snacks after I locked myself out of my room one night. We didn't flirt. We just talked. About dumb stuff at first, weather, books, music, and eventually, about the real things. She never pried. She never judged. She just listened. I think that's what broke me. Not her smile. Not her kindness. Just the fact that for the first time in a long, long time, I wasn't being dismissed while I spoke. We shared coffee once. Just coffee. In the lobby. I laughed. Actually laughed. For the first time in what felt like years. It felt like stretching muscles I didn't know had atrophied. I didn't think much of it. I wasn't falling in love or anything. But Lacey saw us. I didn't know she was watching. I didn't even know she was there. She must have followed me. Or waited. Or maybe she was just lurking around, trying to catch me off guard. But when I walked out of the motel lobby with Morgan beside me, both of us holding coffee cups and smiling about something stupid involving raccoons and vending machines, Lacey was across the parking lot. In her car. Engine running. Window cracked. And the look on her face? It wasn't betrayal. It wasn't heartbreak. It was rage. Confusion. Like how dare I laugh with someone else? How dare I look? Okay. She didn't get out of the car. She didn't even roll down the window fully. She just watched me. Watched us. I made eye contact with her, just for a second, and her whole expression changed. Because I didn't flinch. I didn't chase her. I didn't mouth, wait, or look guilty or run after her like I had every other time she twisted the knife and pretended it was love. She waited 10 seconds too long. Then she drove off. That night, she texted me. One sentence. Was she worth throwing away everything we built? I stared at the screen for a long time. And you know what I realized? She still thought this was about her. She still believed she was the center of everything. That her mistakes could be reset if she just pulled the right emotional strings. That my recovery, even something as small as laughter, was somehow a betrayal to her. So I didn't answer. Because there was nothing left to explain. And deep down, I think she finally understood that. Because that was the last time she tried to reach out with a question. After that, she came with demands. 3 days of silence. Then came the storm. I should have expected it, but I didn't. I'd been lulled into a strange peace, a rhythm. Morning coffee in the motel lobby, brief conversations with Morgan, late-night drives to nowhere with music I hadn't listened to in years. My heart wasn't fixed, not even close, but it had stopped bleeding. And that was enough for me. So when the knock came this time, it wasn't soft. It was violent. Thump, thump, thump. Room 109 shook like it owed someone money. I froze mid-step, toothbrush in hand, thinking maybe someone had the wrong room. Until I heard her voice. Curtis, open the damn door. My chest tightened, not in fear, in weariness. I was tired of this. Tired of the noise, the begging, the blame shifting, the way she made her mess feel like my fault. Curtis, I know you're in there. I saw your car. I didn't move. I didn't even look through the peephole. I just listened. You think you're punishing me? You think walking away makes you stronger? It makes you cowardly. She snapped, voice rising like a tantrum in progress. After everything we went through, this is how you treat me? I made a mistake, yes, but we were broken before that. And there it was. The classic spin. If she couldn't win with guilt, she'd try rewriting history. But then something unexpected happened. The door did open, but not by me. Morgan had just arrived for her shift. She was standing right behind Lacey in the hallway, arms crossed, badge still around her neck. She saw me peek through the gap in the curtain and gave me the smallest nod. Like, don't worry. I've got this. Ma'am, Morgan said, firm but calm. You need to leave. Lacey spun around. Excuse me. You're not a guest here. You're disturbing others. This is your only warning. I don't think anyone had ever said no to Lacey like that before. Not like that. Not without emotion. Not without fear. Just direct refusal. She tried to recover. He's my husband. We're married. This is between us. Morgan didn't flinch. Then take it to a lawyer. But not here. Lacey turned back toward my door, still expecting me to say something. Anything. But I didn't. I just stood inside, heart calm for the first time in days, letting someone else hold the boundary I should have set years ago. After another second of silence, I heard her voice crack. You don't even care anymore, do you? She choked out. After everything, you're just done? I still didn't speak. Morgan did. He's not yours to talk to anymore. That was it. Lacey didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just turned and walked away, heels echoing down the concrete like little regrets she didn't know what to do with. I didn't watch her leave. I didn't need to, because the door stayed closed. And for the first time in our entire relationship, I didn't feel like I owed her anything for doing that. I thought closure would come like a hammer, something loud, heavy, undeniable. I imagined some dramatic final confrontation, where she'd scream, I'd shout, and one of us would storm off into the night while music swelled in the background. But that's not what happened. Closure came quietly. It came 2 weeks later, when I moved out of the motel and into a tiny apartment with a crooked mailbox and creaky floors, but a kitchen that smelled like fresh paint and possibility. It came when I stopped checking my phone every morning. It came when I packed away the wedding photos without crying. It came when I realized I didn't need answers from her anymore. I didn't need apologies. I didn't even want them. Because I wasn't trying to win anything. I was finally just living. Lacey didn't reach out again. Maybe she finally understood. Maybe someone in her life, her parents, her sister, Jill, got through to her. Or maybe she was still trying to figure out how to spin the story in a way that made her the victim. But by then, it didn't matter. She was someone I used to love, sure. But she was also someone who had burned down the house we built and expected me to stay and sweep the ashes. No more. I started rebuilding. Slowly. Quietly. I went back to work. I told my boss I'd had a family emergency. Technically not a lie. I started cooking again, even though I was terrible at it. I signed up for a terrible gym membership I'll probably cancel. And on Sundays, I took long drives with no destination, just because it felt good to be nowhere. And yeah, Morgan and I still talk. We're not anything serious. Not yet. I'm not rushing. She isn't either. But she texts me sometimes with dumb memes or sends me photos of raccoons when she sees one near the dumpster. And last weekend, we went to a bookstore and spent an hour reading the backs of thriller novels neither of us bought. We laughed. I forgot what that felt like. Not the kind of laughter that hides pain. Real laughter. The kind that fills space instead of covering silence. I know I'm not fully healed. I still wake up some mornings reaching for someone who isn't there, only to remember she doesn't belong there anymore. But there's no bitterness. No screaming in my chest. Just space. Room to breathe again. And if Lacey ever wonders where I went, if she ever drives past that motel or checks my socials or sees me one day from across the street and freezes mid-step, I hope she realizes I never really left out of anger. I left because staying meant losing myself completely. And I've spent far too long being someone else's version of a man. Now, I get to be my own.